Would you like to accelerate your career and reach your full potential in just minutes a day? Welcome to the LEADx Show with New York Times best-selling author and Inc. 500 entrepreneur, Kevin Kruse.
What are the secrets to leading wholeheartedly? Hello everyone, Kevin Kruse here, helping you to get 1% better 5 days a week. And today we're going to learn how managers can get results without losing their souls. But first, I want to encourage you to subscribe to our newsletter at leadx.org. Each issue has actionable tips you can try out right away to advance your career and to fulfill your potential. Visit leadx.org. We have two guests with us today. Karin Hurt is a former Verizon executive who's now a leadership consultant, author, and speaker. Her blog, Let's Grow Leaders, is one of my personal favorites. I've placed her on my top 100 leadership speakers list for Inc. magazine. And David Dye is a former nonprofit executive. He's a leadership consultant, speaker, and author. You've probably already read his work on Huffington Post, Fast Company, or Entrepreneur magazine. Their new book is Winning Well, A Manager's Guide to Getting Results Without Losing Your Soul. Welcome, David and Karin.
Thank you so much for having us.
Pleasure to be here.
We're going to talk about the new book, Winning Well, in just a minute, but I want to start with a question that our audience is always curious about. Share with us a time, maybe early in your careers, when you failed. What did you learn from it?
Oh, absolutely, Kevin. We encountered an interesting story that we both had. As you mentioned, I came from a nonprofit background. Karin was a Verizon executive, two very different industries, and yet we discovered that we had a common leadership failure story, and that was both of us. In Winning Well, we talk about a user-type manager that starts using people, that gets real directive and is all about results and forgets the relationship part of leadership. And we both had a team member come to us and give us the feedback. And they said, David, you're not acting like David anymore. And Karin's person said, Karin, you're not acting like Karin anymore. And ultimately, our leadership failure there was that we had stopped trusting our people. And we had started to tighten our grip and try to take control ourselves. And the answer was really what we call trust the trenches, to get back to trust with our team and to bring them the questions and the issues that need to be solved and incorporate their input and feedback.
This is really critical. I'm underlining some magic words here that when you have a manager who's really managing the results or the tasks, micromanaging, it's often because the trust isn't there. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We you get to feeling frantic, like you've got to do it all yourself. And at that point, you have lost all leadership altogether because it's all about bringing people together to get things done.
And it's easy to do that when you're sensing a lot of fear and pressure from above, and we call that trickle-down intimidation, right? So your boss is freaking out at you, instead of stopping the madness and saying, how do I want to lead well and get the results and manage the relationships like I know is best? It's easy when you're really stressed out just to pass through that intimidation and to hop into a micromanagement mode.
Yeah, I can see that. And in fact, I'm getting flashbacks of some of my own failures and now realizing that when I've been at my worst, it's when the pressure from above has been the highest. So your book is Winning Well. Great stuff in here. I encourage people to read it cover to cover and then leave it out as a reference, because you can quickly get to a problem you might be having, a leadership problem, and then find the solution. So let's start with one. It's always been my greatest weakness. Anytime I've had to let someone go, to terminate someone, that's the hardest thing to do. I don't think I do it very well at all. So what advice would you give to me and others who have to let someone go? We've got to fire someone and we really aren't sure the right way to do it.
I think it starts by being really honest with the person. You want to let them know. It depends, if you're letting them go because of a downsizing, that's one situation, right? And you want to make clear that it's nothing to do with them. But if you're letting them go for performance, and I'll take that scenario, you want to make sure that they're leaving with a feeling that they did something wrong or they were not a good fit for the job, but they are not something wrong. And you want to leave them with their dignity intact. I can't tell you how many people I've had to, because I was in HR for a number of years, so I've unfortunately had to be the center of a number of these conversations over the years, and how meaningful it is if you do this well and you approach the situation with compassion and you help people to fail forward, they'll come back to you a couple of years later and say, you know what, thank you. That really made a difference in my ability to rebound from this terrible part of my career.
Yeah, I've had to let people go for performance reasons a few times. And in every single case, that person has emailed me back months later, sometimes 3, sometimes 6, whatever. But they've said it was the best thing looking back because they realized it wasn't working out. It wasn't a great fit. You know, they weren't feeling good in my organization, and they've ended up in a better place. So I'm a big productivity junkie, and you have a chapter called Inspire Your Team to Double Productivity. Now, you say it's not about like a new calendar or a fancy app on your phone. How do you inspire your team to increase productivity?
Well, the first step is you've got to know what's most important. And, you know, we all have the same amount of time, and in any given moment of time, we can only do one thing. So one of the things we really invite every leader, every manager to do is identify what is the most critical behavior that a team member can do to contribute to whatever results you need to have happen.
Love that. All about focus. Karin, anything to add on that one?
Yeah, make sure that you are crystal clear on your expectations. We find that so often when people are faced with performance challenges, they could have been more clear about what they were expecting. And if you can take the time to have one very clear conversation about expectations, it will save you 14, why didn't you do this the way I wanted to conversations.
Now, you also tackle in your book something I get asked about all the time, which sort of surprises me, and it's sad. But the question is, you know, what if my boss doesn't want to win, or my boss doesn't care about their soul or my soul? You know, how do we manage up? What do we do if we're working for a not great boss?
Yeah. And, you know, I've been in that situation. I think most of us have at one point or another in our careers. And what we talk about in Winning Well is really creating a cultural oasis. So how do you figure out a way to surround yourself with people who will inspire you, will challenge you, who will continue to help you grow, even if your boss is disengaged? And the other thing I would say is make sure that you are learning what not to do from a bad boss, because you can learn as much about leadership from watching the impact a toxic personality or a disengaged personality has on the team, and vow never to be that guy.
I'm just jotting a note down. Cultural oasis. Love that. You know, we know that it can be tough to feel engaged at work if your boss is disengaged. But I like this idea. You know, if you can get if you can't get what you need from your boss, you know, who else can you get it from? Your peers. You know, maybe there's some mentors or other people to sort of create this cultural oasis. As a wrap up, we like to challenge LEADx Nation, our listeners, to get better every single day. So what's one specific thing they can do today to become a better leader?
Well, first thing I would recommend is invite everyone to ask the people around you, ask somebody above you, next to you, maybe somebody who reports to you, what does winning look like for our team or our organization? And if you're not hearing the same answer from everybody, this gets back to the clarity of expectations that Karin was talking about. You want to be sure everybody's on the same page. So that is a starting point. Make sure everybody's on the same page and you're all aligned, going the same direction.
Great.
And I would add, have one tough conversation that you're avoiding. Maybe it's a conversation with your boss that you've been needing to have. Maybe it's with a peer. We have a lot of tools that we, train people on how to have those elegantly. But it's really important. You will not regret, if you do it well, you will not regret what we call owning the ugly, or having the tough conversations that need to be had. Your results will improve, as will your relationships.
See, this is exactly why I love your guys' writing so much, your blog so much. Owning the ugly. What a phrase that is. I love it. And it's true. If you have those tough conversations, you're going to sleep a whole lot better at night.
Yeah.
So what's the best way our listeners can find out about you and your companies and your books?
Well, the first place to go is winningwellbook.com, and there we've got some free chapters people can download. We have an online assessment that your listeners can take to discover their own management style and what are the key areas where they can start to see results right away and increase their influence and the results and build better relationships. And we've got a free Winning Well toolkit. We've got a lot of different value adds and different resources that people can get there. So that's the first place. And then, Karin, why don't you go over the others?
And then I can be reached at letsgrowleaders.com, and David is at trailblazeinc.com.
All right, friends, you've just been mentored by dynamic duo Karin Hurt and David Dye. Check out their new book on Amazon.com or your favorite bookstore. You can get all the links mentioned in the show notes from this interview over at LEADx.org. And LEADx listeners, let me ask you for one more favor. If you're getting your money's worth from this podcast, I know you are, take a minute to leave a short, honest review on iTunes or Stitcher, and then let me know. Send me an email. I'm at kevin@leadx.org. We'll then invite you into our private LEADx ambassador group on Facebook, where we do monthly prizes, we've got peer support, and just have a lot of fun. Until next time, remember, you don't need a title to be a leader. It's not about power. It's not about authority. Leadership is influence. How will you lead today?